Three, two. All right, it's time to talk with our featured guest, Dr. Clara Griffey. Clara, how's it going?
It's going okay. It's a Monday.
Are you more excited about Mondays or are you more like, oh, it's
Oh, I think I'm usually more like, it's Monday.
Monday?
But once Monday's over, I'm okay.
So why? Why do you feel like, is it because of the weekend's so great or why?
I mean, the weekend's so great. I mean, we don't work on Fridays, so there's usually like I check our messages over the weekend, but there's usually some unresolved things that we need to address on Monday from, patients who have questions on Fridays. And it's just that backup from a few days of being out, just a little bit harder to get started, but it's okay.
What's like the typical questions you normally get from the weekend where you have to address it on Monday?
Oh, typical. I don't think there's anything typical. It'll be anything from a patient with an insurance question to a patient who um, is wanting to reschedule this massive treatment plan that was booked for Monday morning, or um, somebody who waits until Friday at 4:30 to say, "Hey, I'm uncomfortable. Like this thing that you did on Wednesday or this thing that you did on Tuesday is hurting me right now." Things like that, I would
How,
say.
how often does that happen when they have to reschedule like a massive treatment plan? Like on Monday, you're like, that's all we had.
Yeah. Um, I mean, like a huge getting a reschedule on like a really big treatment plan, I would say that's not as common, but we certainly have a lot of cancellations. I feel like it was really bad in like January, February. It was just like the worst cancellation spree I've ever seen. But in general, I mean, yeah, I feel like at least every Monday there's at least one patient that falls off the schedule for one reason or
Hmm.
another. So,
What's y'all's protocol for that? Like, what do y'all do when that happens?
well, we're working on that. Right now, it's a $25 cancellation. If it's less than, we're switching it to 48 hours notice, but it was 24-hour notice, $25 cancellation fee. We're about to start implementing like a 50% deposit on their out of pocket
Mm-hmm.
expense. And then that will, go towards, and then it's going to be like $100 fee for cancellations on my side. And then it's going to be $25 for hygiene side. So
Got you. Have you guys implemented that already or no?
yeah, that the $25 thing we've been implementing for a while, but the deposit and the $100 fee is like about to start. So we'll see what
Hmm. Have you noticed people are like happy about it, or they're more like, "Oh my gosh, you're charging me $25. I'm never coming back," or something?
happens. You Most of them are just like, yeah, that's fine, and then we just collect it the next time they're in. I had one. We've started adding that to our text confirmations, and so basically saying we require, at the time it was 24-hour notice for any last minute cancellations, otherwise you may be subject to a $25 cancellation fee. And we had one patient who just like went off on it, and she was confirmed, like she was coming, she's never not come to an appointment, but she's an older patient, and she just like went off on us and just started like texting like, $25, that's ridiculous, like I want all my records, give me all my receipts, I need to go find somewhere else. And then she ended up like, she called the next day and apologized. She's like, I'm so sorry, I'm going through things. So
Oh
that's
yeah,
the only that's the only honestly bad reaction that we've gotten. So
yeah. Because I hear that there's like that debate where it's like, "Oh, you charge? Should you not?" You know what I mean?
I mean, I used to not for the first, I guess I'm like just at the 2-year mark of owning, and I didn't for the first year and a half. And I mean, some of that in the middle of COVID, you're just like, well, half the patients are going to call and say, oh, I've got an exposure, or oh, I've got
Mm-hmm.
symptoms or something. So I wasn't charging then, but it's gotten to the point where it was just like, man, I mean, my hygiene schedule would just be completely empty. And now that COVID is not as much of an excuse necessarily, it's a little bit easier to be like, all right, I feel a little bit more confident that like it's not as prevalent right now. You probably are just like, I've had some admit they're just like, it's too early. We had one patient who didn't show up, and we called them. We called them 10 minutes past their appointment time, and he answered and he was like, it's too early and it's too cold. And we said, well, we have like a $25 cancellation fee. And he was like, that's fine. Just put it on my bill. And he just didn't come and paid us next time. So,
Eh,
but that was a patient who was on my schedule. And I think we did have quite a bit that we were supposed to be doing that morning. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe if we had said it's $100, we'll, get over here. You live 5 minutes away. Maybe that would have gotten him out of bed. But
yeah.
yeah.
I like that. Having different, charging different for different, like, you know what I mean? Hygiene and doctor. It might make an urgency, but
Yeah.
we jumped into it so immediately. I wanted to ask a little bit, rewind a little bit. Like, tell me a little bit about your past, your present. How'd you get to where you are today?
Well, okay, so I didn't know I wanted to be a dentist until I was out of school, out of college. I got, and I didn't know what I wanted to do even in college because I got 2 degrees. I got a bachelor's of fine arts in studio art, and then I got a bachelor's of science in biochemistry, and then I worked in biochemistry research. And then when I was doing that, I was like, I went to a dentist and she had artwork on the wall and she was like, dentistry is art and science combined. Like it's a really good mix of it. And so that was kind of the first time I realized that and started considering it. And so went to dental school, um, moved back home, my hometown, in Waco, and started an associate job when I was moving here. And then met an older dentist who was planning on retiring and purchased his office February 27th, 2020. So
right before
timing right there. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And in dental, I will say another little tidbit about me. I started dental school with a 14-month-old and I had my second child during D2. So that's a little fun fact. But
Okay, so rewind a little bit. You didn't, that was the pivoting point where the doctor was like, oh, it's art and science combined together. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do it now. Or
yeah.
was it more like something else of a push?
Well, that was the first time that kind of like planted the seed. And then after that, there was a few months delay in the light bulb going off because that happened. And then my husband, he's an engineer and he had a job opportunity in Italy. And so I quit my job, and we went there for several months and I was just kind of sitting there enjoying it, but I was like, well, what am I going to do when we go back home? Like, I don't want to go back to the career path that I was on. And I've got all this time to think about it. And so that's when the light bulb went off after that initial little conversation I had with her. But that definitely planted the seed. Just her being, saying, oh, you like science? Oh, you like art? Hey, dentistry is kind of both of those things. So yeah.
Dude, I would have lived it up in Italy. Like, just stay there. Can we just do this?
It was great. But my husband had to work. So during the week, it was like we couldn't just like do anything. He went to work and I don't know what I did. I sat around, I walked around, I painted, I read, I researched jobs and all kinds of good soul searching.
Yeah, that's nice though. Like it's what part of Italy, if you don't mind me asking?
We were in Milan. So
I don't know, but it sounds nice.
It's nice. I studied when I was doing my art degree, I studied abroad in Italy in Florence, and that's definitely in my opinion, a better part to spend a long period of time in. But Milan was nice. It's just a little bit more industrial, commercial. It's got some really great things, but it was, it's not as quaint as some of the things that you think about when you think about Italy.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then you fast forward, you took an associate job. So right now you're in Texas then, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So you're in Waco, Texas. You took your associate job there. What from there were you like, or have you always had the idea to be like, I'm going to own my own practice, or did something kind of stem from there?
Yeah, I think I always kind of wanted to own my own practice. And I didn't necessarily, I was open to partnering. And the job that I took, it was presented in a way where a partnering in would be a possibility.
Mhm.
And I was there long enough to just, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the practice or with the dentist that was there, but I just knew that I didn't want to marry that, if it makes sense. So I just kind of wanted to do my own thing my own way. So
How did you know? How did they present it in a way that there was going to be a partnership? And then how did you know you're like, for real? Like what was there in you where you're like, this ain't no, I'm not doing it.
yeah, well, okay, so the way I was connected with this position, so I went to dental school in Dallas, and my group leader, fourth year dental school instructor, he was in the same class as this dentist in Waco, and he knew my instructor knew I was from Waco and that I was looking to move back to Waco, and so the practice owner had reached out to him saying he was looking for an associate. There was potential to buy in. And the way and so once I met him and we talked about it, the way he described it, he always acted like, hey, I want you to buy in, and then we'll have another person buy in and another person buy in, and then we'll just keep splitting the pie. And I don't know, it didn't seem like the direction I would want to go. And kind of not red flag. I mean, I was not opposed to it, but his son was wanting to go to dental school, applying to college and stuff. And so I was like, honestly, I feel like I'm here growing the practice potentially, but also just filling in until your son graduates. And then, like, I mean, where are you going to be more loyal to him? Obviously, like I would be too. So that was, I don't know, it just didn't. And some of the decisions he made, even after, like, I would give my opinion on something, and
Mhm.
then he would do not what I thought would be the right thing to do. I just kind of felt like, okay, I mean, like, you're telling me that you want me to partner in and like have, some sort of ownership here, but it doesn't feel like, even if I on paper got that, I don't know if, like, in reality, like in real life, it would manifest itself that way. So
Yeah. In the past, has anything like that happened where you're like, oh, this is on paper, and then they were like, I don't care what it says on paper.
I mean, you mean in dentistry or
Just in
just
general, in general.
life?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so. I
Okay.
don't
I was
know.
just wondering for you
I
to.
I, I feel like, well, because to be honest, I feel like a lot of things that I've done in life have not been on paper, like I just
Yeah.
have it down on paper. So I can't say I've done something that was clearly defined that it should have been one way and then it ended up going the other way, or it ended up conflicting with what it was supposed to be. But
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I get you. Like that's cutting too much of a piece of the pie where you're like, okay, when is it gonna stop? And then at the same time, like it is true. It did feel I can understand how you would feel like a bookmark almost to be like, okay, he's coming
Yeah.
in now.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then he's gonna be like,
Well,
understand and
right. And I don't, like, I'm not here, or I wasn't there to try to just have a lot of power or have a lot of, like, clout in the game. But I also felt like, if you're telling me that you want me to have ownership and, like, be a part of this, don't, I mean, he would just make really strange, bizarre decisions, like, after we had spoken about doing something completely different. Um, and just, I don't know, apparently some weird practices within the practice that I don't think that I would want my license to be tied to either. So I mean, it wasn't a good fit. But it, as a new grad, it seemed like a really great opportunity. And it
yeah.
wasn't bad. I mean, like, I don't have any ill will towards him or his practice. It wasn't like
Yeah.
the right fit for me.
Wasn't a
So
good fit. What were some things that you learned in that practice where you're like, oh snap, I do want to take this to my practice. Like this is kind of nice.
mm, um from that practice, um ooh, um See, it's kind of not a good sign if you can't like answer a lot of like you can't answer that easily.
Yeah. It could be like, if you want, it could be like systems. Some people say like an employee, or some people say
Yeah, so the hygienists were all really nice. I will say the hygienists were really great in that they spoke with patients about things that they were possibly seeing on x-rays, or like possibly seeing some grinding or things like that. They would kind of like talk up some things that the doctor might be talking about. Obviously not like diagnosing, but kind of just preemptively bringing things up that they're seeing, and so that way the patient was pretty well prepared for conversations that we might be having. So I thought that was really good. eh, uh yeah,
yeah, that's good. That's
that was a good
good.
thing.
Yeah, that's good. I like that a lot. Okay, so then we fast forward more. You purchased an office. Why did you purchase this specific office?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, so let me just describe this office to you. So I found it because I got a message from somebody on LinkedIn from a company called For Sale by Dentist. I don't know. Have you ever heard of it? With
Never.
a four, like the number four, for sale by dentist.com. It's a really cute concept actually. But anyway, so I guess you pay a flat fee, like $500 or something, to list your practice. And that would be so like Dr. Luter is the name of the dentist I bought the practice from. And that is so Dr. Luter to do that. And so he paid a fee to list his practice. And then I guess people will just, employees of the website will just send out like message, like look for dentists to just send it to and be like, hey, we have a practice for sale. Look at our website. Here it is. And so I found it that way. And it's actually on the cross street that it's on is the same cross street that I grew up on. So it's quite a few blocks away, but it is, it's within sort of my neighborhood. So I thought that was cute. But this practice, he lived in it. So he had his dental practice, but then he had a trailer in the back that I don't know if he slept there. There was an operatory that he also turned into a bedroom. And so the bed took up the whole operatory, and he put his clothes in the drawers, and there was a little TV in there, but then he also had his trailer, which had a little kitchenette. And he turned the dark room into a shower, and he was still doing film x-rays, paper charts. So he had an old dark room that he turned into a shower, but then he had one of those fancy new machines where you can dip the x-rays in, develop them. So so that was kind of the situation that I walked in on. And then there were just walls of shelves of charts. And
Did you ever ask why he was living in his practice?
Well, so this man, I think, had been divorced a couple times, but he had a little weekend house in like an hour or so away by a lake. And I think, he worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, half the day Thursday, and then he would drive out to his lake house. And so I think he felt like that lake house was more his home, and then he was in town to work for a few days. And so he didn't, I don't know, I guess he just didn't feel the need to have another residence when he had all that space in the back to put a bed. So
yeah, I get. Well, how far was the lake house from his?
it was like an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, I can get it.
So I mean, and just like knowing him, because I got to know him pretty well, and I've gotten to know him more as I've had the practice and just continued to communicate with him. That's just a Luter thing to do. And a lot of his patients knew that he lived back there. I mean, we had the front desk who was working for him at the time. She was like, yeah, I mean, we'll have the patient will come in, and we'll get the patient ready, and then Luter will come out like with his scraggly hair, just like waking up, smoking. I mean, he smoked. Like everybody knew he smoked. He would smell like cigarette smoke. Just come in and be like, hey, good morning, how's it going? So it's just, I mean, so I will say I inherited like a very tolerant kind patient base. I mean, everybody that has come from his patient base, really cool people. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to be when your dentist just walks through the hallway, kind of like just after finishing a cigarette with his hair all bedraggled and just being like, "Good morning, I just woke up."
Mhm.
So yeah, so that was so why your question was why did I buy that practice?
Uh-huh.
And my answer was I don't know. I guess I saw it as a challenge. I really like to. My husband and I have bought like several houses that we've flipped and like just made taken something old and made it new and nice, and it just seemed like a little cute little project at the time, and I really liked him. And I liked that it was on my street, and yeah, I think I just and to be honest, at the time I was very much done with my like I was looking for a way out of that associate job.
Mhm.
And that one just kind of happened into my lap at the time that I was really, really ready to get out. So um I think
Gotcha.
I think that was just that's kind of how it happened.
Gotcha. Did you take a loan out for this purchase or no?
Not a bank loan because I couldn't get a bank loan on it because he had no like good records like financially.
Mhm.
I mean, it was very much so. I got it for a really low price. I basically bought the building. Um, so I had a family loan. So
Could I ask like give me like a range like
I'll
how
tell you,
uh
the total price with the building, the charts, everything was 150,000.
Oh my gosh, really? Wow. How many ops?
That he was actually using two, but there were four plumbed. He was living in one, and then the other one was just not being used. So, but we got, and so I will say, yes, the price to get that practice was 150,000, but I mean, I've spent a lot more turning those ops into like usable spaces and updating it and going from paper to computers and x-ray equipment and like going from dipping the films into digital. So I mean it was a low cost initial investment, but it has been a high cost
Hmm.
ongoing investment.
Yeah,
So
like maintenance and everything like that, and improving it and stuff like that. Okay, gotcha. So that's interesting. And how, the charts in total. Actually, let me ask you this: like, did all the patients and employees stay? How was that? How was that transition?
so patients that I'm aware of, I think I've only lost one patient, and that patient I lost after I I wouldn't say let go, but kind of asked the front desk lady to move on. So there was one lady at the front and one assistant in the back. And the assistant, she was really sweet, but she had done her externship with this dentist and
Mhm.
then immediately started working for him. So this was the only office she had ever worked at. Super sweet, willing to learn, but she didn't even know what a saliva ejector was. Like he didn't have saliva ejectors. So, I mean, it was like she was so limited in what she knew how to do, but she was easy to train. Like I really liked her. She was great. And then after her parent, like her whole family, because she was from our area, but her whole family, her brother and sister were going to school in Dallas. Her parents were moving that way too. And so she ended up moving several hours
Mhm.
away. So then she stopped working for me. Um, and so, and then meanwhile, I was growing, like I was adding, like I needed a second assistant. So she was there for some overlap. So I went from having those two staff to having another assistant plus another front desk. And then it became fairly apparent that the front desk woman who was originally there was not necessarily going to be a good fit. She couldn't figure out how to use she couldn't transition to the digital stuff, and just patient communication was a little bit wonky. So anyway, so she was there for March, April, May, June, July, August. She was there for about 8 months. And then I didn't ask her to leave, but I said I need to reduce your hours. And so I was just in my mind, I was saying, okay, I want to still like provide you with a space to be here if that's what you want to do, but you're not you're not getting enough work done to justify like, however many hours a week that you're working here. So, and then she kind of took that as, okay, maybe it's my time to exit. So
Like in a positive way or in a?
we're on good terms. Like
Okay.
I have still spoken with her, and like stayed in touch with her and texted her on holidays and stuff like that. So, I mean, it was sad. Like she was sad, and I could tell like it was not like I was worried about it and I was sad for her, but it was okay. Like,
no, yeah, I get you. So how did that go? The conversation for that, where you're like, oh, we're going to reduce your hours. Somebody else is going to come in, kind of do exactly what you're doing, but better.
so, well, I had a fairly good excuse. I think she saw through it, but this was like October 2020. And my husband, he was working for a company out in California, and they were not doing so well, and so they were cutting all their people, and so he was cut. And so I was like, well, while you're figuring out your stuff, maybe you can come work in the office and like do, some admin stuff. And so I told her, I said, hey, so Matt was laid off from his job. He's not doing anything else. I don't know that I can afford to pay you your like for the full hours that you are supposed to be working here. I need to reduce your hours, and he's going to come in and he's going to be doing admin stuff. Is basically what I said. I think she saw through it, and I think she knew that's not really like that wasn't like the full picture, but it was enough to make it like an easier pill to swallow, I think, for her.
Yeah. So. It's a good reason. I mean, it was happening too. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It is happening.
I mean, he did get a job within like a week or two, but it was just like, well, let's just plan for whatever happens. So
were you guys living in California? You guys were living in California?
No. So we've been in Texas, but he's an engineer. He's a biomedical device engineer, and he was working for a company based out of LA. And before the pandemic hit, he was flying there every other week. So he would be there for a week and then home for a week. And then when the pandemic happened, he was working from home like the full time. And then that company, he always jokes that company was like another Theranos or something. Like he was like, this is a fake company. He like had always thought it. Yeah. And so he honestly, we were both impressed and shocked that he was still getting paid for, he was working, but that they were still surviving and like pretending to be a real company for the months that they did. So, not pretending to be a real company. They apparently, they're still around, but it was just they were a weird startup when he started working for them, and they were not a very old company when the pandemic hit. So
yeah. Plus you wonder like, what do they do and stuff? Man, that's a lot. I mean, I think that's kind of like a lot, Clara. Like if you think about it, because you have what? 2 children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your startup.
Yep.
Middle pandemic. And then, or before the pandemic was hitting, you know what I mean? Like every other and doing.
Oh yeah. No, it's been a lot. And then I bought my office, like I said, February 27th, but the cutoff for any of like the PPP loans or EIDL or any of that is February 15th. So I got my office too late to qualify for any of those like relief packages.
So how did you do it then?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I will say I am fortunate that the pandemic happened fairly early in owning that office, because at the time I had not yet spent that much. I had that one like pretty low expenditure to buy it, but I hadn't started investing. Like now I have a CEREC, I have an iTero, I have a CBCT. I've done like made a lot of other big purchases, but at the time I didn't have all of that overhead on my shoulders. So, what we did, and I didn't know, I was a dumb new business owner. I did not put either of my employees on unemployment. So I had them coming in and I was paying them full time to come and like scan charts or clean, or like we painted. Like I just paid them to come and we painted the walls. Because, and I will say, like, even in retrospect, if I had known that I could have put them on unemployment, I don't know if I would have, because I was also worried at the time. I was trying to keep that goodwill.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, I just got here and I don't know anything about this place. Luter's not telling me anything. Like, I don't know anything. And so I need y'all, like, I need y'all here. And so I was willing to just pay them to come. And like, I learned a lot of things about the building and about the practice and about the patients and everything, just kind of sitting with them and doing stuff. So it was,
Yeah.
I think it was still worth it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think like looking back, like you're like, oh, maybe money wise, it wasn't the best, you know what I mean? Like trying to save, but like as far as building team rapport and like,
right.
relationships and stuff, it
Yeah.
blossomed.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It was good. I think that part was fine. Yeah, I don't regret that. It was just weird timing. The whole thing was just weird and
Yeah.
stressful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was so then right now, how many employees do you have?
I've got I've got 2 assistants, I've got a hygienist, I've got 2 front desk folks, and then I have kind of an office manager, and then sorry to say the hygienist. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like maybe 6
Oh,
employees.
yeah.
And then
Full time?
maybe another part. Those are all full time, and then maybe I might be getting a part-time hygienist. So
Oh.
just trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure out if I'm dropping insurances or if I'm like adding people. It's kind of my next
Why?
step.
I don't know. I mean, like I was gonna say drop them, but I mean, like, what's your debate here?
I would rather drop them. I still think I need a part-time hygienist. Well, I have a pretty good relationship with a few like temp part-time hygienists in town, and so for some of the backup, I think I'm just like, I have one who will just come for a few days. Like, she'll just be like, hey, I can come like the 15th, the 18th, and the 20th. And so we'll just have her come those days and just kind of help with some of our backlog of getting some hygiene patients in. But yeah, I'm starting to, I, I hired a consultant to help me figure out like what insurances to drop and stuff. So I'm kind of starting that process.
Who'd you hire?
They're called Practice Quotient. They're
Practice
not as
question?
well known. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you
Um,
find them?
through another dentist in town. And I respect him a ton, and his
Mhm.
office has done really, really well. And so he said that he had used them, and I was like, okay, well, reach out to them. So it's
Yeah.
been good so far. I haven't actually started. It's taken like months of analysis and like reports and stuff, and then they've like been trying to negotiate other like umbrella fee guides and all these things that I don't understand. So I'm about to start like dropping things, but I haven't yet.
Yeah. It's a I know it's a process. I don't know how long it is. You know what I mean? But I mean, like yeah, it does take some time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But really quick, I wanted to ask you. So it sounds like you're kind of getting a lot. So how many new patients are you getting like a month?
Um, I'm not trying to exaggerate because this sounds ridiculous, but I'm getting like 60. And it's too much for me. It's just like, if you think about it, like a new patient, that means you're pulling their insurance, you're like verifying all their stuff, you're getting their breakdowns, and then you're doing a new patient exam, and that's a big chunk on the hygiene schedule. And it's just, and then I mean, like I said, I've had quite a few. I have some no-shows. So I mean, some of those are people who schedule as a new patient and then don't come.
Hmm.
So it's like that ratio. It's like, oh my gosh, my front did all this work for somebody and they never even came. So, but yeah, I would say it's maybe like 60 is an average.
That's
Um,
really good.
so,
Really, that's what are you doing for marketing?
um, no, I say nothing. It's not nothing, but it's nothing like super tangible.
Mhm.
So I do our social media, like I do Instagram and have that linked to Facebook. So it's basically the same post on both um, platforms, but I'll do some social media posts and every now and then I'll boost one. And so I guess I get some patients from that, I think. And then I have the benefit of being from here. So kind of just some hometown roots has brought people in. And then also just going, like trying to be involved with my kids' schools and getting to know families there and just, trying to kind of plug in different ways. I'm part of a community orchestra. So I'm just trying to kind of go do different things and get to know people and just kind of let them know I'm a dentist.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been it. I made my own website on Wix. I don't do any SEO stuff. I don't really have, I have a sign in front of the building, but it's kind of still covered by plants. It's his old sign, and then I just changed the name.
Yeah.
Not lit up or anything like that. So yeah, I think it's been, and I hate to say it's probably a lot of my new patients just because I'm in network with so many things. So that's part of and I wouldn't say, it's not a bad strategy to be in network with a ton of, plans. And then as you build that reputation and establish yourself in the community, then you can drop them and you still have some of that word of mouth and some of that, patients aren't necessarily, they're not going to come to you because of their insurance, but they might come to you because they talk to a friend.
Yeah. So. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Like, do you get a lot of word of mouth? Like does your front office ask like, hey, how'd you hear from us or no? Or how'd you hear about us?
No, they don't ask that, but a lot of my patients will say, hey, I referred my friend so-and-so here. Like, have they come yet? I'm like, well, I can't tell you because of HIPAA, but thanks for your, thanks for your referral. That's so great. Or I'll get last week I'll have several super referrers, some people who will just for whatever reason, they're just like, well, I just love this office and I'm going to go tell everybody. And so I have one, she's actually there today with her son. And I have a puppy that's going to be a therapy dog for the office. So she makes visits to the office, and that, she posted about it, and she already has people commenting oh, what dentist is this? We want to come. But she referred several people who came last week, and she sent me a message oh, my friend so-and-so and my friend so-and-so, they're going to be coming and seeing you this week. They're so excited to meet you. So it's just, but we don't ask. We should, but we don't. But usually the ones that do refer will tell us hey, send people your way. So.
I send somebody your way. Yeah, that's cool. Community orchestra.
Yeah.
So you sing?
No.
Oh.
I play cello. So.
Oh wait, choir and orchestra. I don't know why.
It's right. Yeah. No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, I play cello.
Cool.
And yeah, I don't know. It was something I saw on Nextdoor. I guess maybe that's another thing. I'm kind of active on Nextdoor, and if you look at people's Nextdoor profile, it'll say they're a dent. It says what they do and where they work and stuff. So anyway, but I saw that's actually I got some patients because of that, because I was talking about the community orchestra, and I know some of them came because of that. So
the Nextdoor app or the Cool. Okay. Awesome. So then one of the kind of the final questions I wanted to ask you is what is some things you had to switch out and put in differently? Because I know you're going digital, right? Or you're going more, obviously it's not the same as before. So what are some things? I know you mentioned CBCT.
Yeah. So, everything, think of it like a shell startup. So I got computers, I got sensors. I decided to go cloud-based because, starting from, well, for one thing, I didn't have a very high budget. I didn't have much of a budget to get a server, and I didn't have upfront. I couldn't bear those upfront costs. So I was okay, I can do cloud-based because I'm going to be paying monthly and I don't have to do much setup. I still don't have an IT person. I just did, plug in the computer and hook it up to Wi-Fi, and you're basically good. We've done, I've learned more about security. We have this weird, I don't know. I don't understand it, but my husband. Anyway,
yeah, I get you. Yeah,
he's my IT person. So, but yeah, so I did cloud-based software. I started with one and then I switched to another. So scanning paper charts into that, doing my cone beam. He didn't have a pano or anything. I actually started with a pano that I got from dental garage sale, and then quickly was like, this is not going to be acceptable. So then I decided to go ahead and just get the cone beam, because I do place implants, and I was already placing them before I took my office over. So did that. Like honestly, almost all of my equipment was from like the dental garage sale Facebook group, like my chairs, my sensors, my original hand pieces. Although then I switched to electric.
Dental Garage Facebook group?
Yeah. How do you not know about this? It's called Dental Garage Sale. And you can just get, so you can get used dental equipment and stuff.
Yeah. Huh. That's it. Is it the one that Glenvo
Yes.
owns? I think I want to say. Okay. Got you. I've heard of that one. Really quick, rewind a little bit. Switch cloud-based practice management softwares. Who did you have before?
I started with Curve,
and
then I switched to Carestack.
Why did that happen?
There were a few reasons. With Curve, one problem with Curve was that they had like a native X-ray software that you could use. I mean, you can bridge, but you can also use their X-ray software. And I felt like the quality was I just could never get a good read on anything. I was just like, I don't know if that's decay or burnout or what. It was never clear enough. And so, and if I had loved the software enough, I would have worked around that. But I had enough. There were enough other problems. It's like you had to click like if you clicked something and then made a change, if you didn't click again, it would lose the change. And just my staff were always complaining about it. I actually had a hygienist. I had hired her, and she wasn't going to be full-time, but she was going to be there part-time. And she got so stressed out with it that she quit. And she was like, I really like you. I like your office. I cannot handle this software. Give me a call when you switch. Or like, if you ever switch, like, let me know. I might come back, but I can't work with this. And so, I mean, and Curve has made, from what I can tell, I think they've made some changes. Like, it wasn't a terrible software, and some people are happy with it, but it was my first software. And so that I've had as an owner, and with all of my staff telling me like, we don't like it. Like, we want something else. It's like, okay, I hear you. Like, if y'all are really not, like, if this is impacting your like well-being as a happy employee, like, let's figure something else out. Oh, also, I didn't like the notes. You had to drag and drop stuff, and there was just too much. Like, it wasn't like an easy, because I had used Open Dental I had a couple other like part-time little like weekend corporate associate jobs too. And so I had used Open Dental, and I liked their little click thing that you could do with the notes. And so Curve didn't have that.
Gotcha. And so you went with Carestack. Why?
Well, I wanted to stay cloud-based. I didn't want to, after everything I had done to kind of like set myself up to be cloud-based, I didn't want to go backwards and go to a server. So I was like, okay, if I switch, I'm switching to something else cloud-based. And I mean, I had heard a lot of good things, or read a lot of good things about Carestack. And so did a demo, and I mean, it answered a lot of questions and problems that we had with the other one. And it integrates with Mango, which we already had. We had Mango. So it had like the texting features, which Curve, I mean, honestly, I can't really speak to the current features that Curve has now, because it's been a while since I've used it. But I think at the time, if it had texting, it was really hard to make it work, or like you couldn't automate stuff. And so Carestack had a lot more of just some of those third-party functionalities that some of the other software has been able to work with. So
yeah. Gotcha. So give us some advice. What are some things people should prepare for when looking to switch from non-cloud-based to cloud-based?
One thing, if you're using non-cloud-based and then you go to cloud-based, One thing that you do have to get used to is remember that it's a website. So like something that gets, if somebody is working on the same chart or doing something to a patient at the same time you are, unless you reload, you're not going to see what they've done. Like it's just, there's just some weird things, like they have to click and reload and do that. That's anything like with any cloud-based. I mean, it's you are dependent on your internet, so you have to get a really strong, robust plan, which we did, and I mean ours is fine. Occasionally, like maybe one time during patient care has our software been unavailable because like of an unplanned maintenance event or something happening within the system. But that's been pretty rare. I will say it has happened sometimes like late at night, like I'm trying to work on it at midnight or something, and they have their like planned maintenance. So that's something. But I mean, overall, it's been great because you can work on it from anywhere. Like I can be working on an airplane. I can like, buy my Wi-Fi and just like get work done, work on notes. So yeah.
Dang, printing the midnight.
Oh yeah, all the time.
You're like all the time.
Every day.
Got you, man. Okay, so then one of the final questions I want to ask you is like, throughout this process, from the moment you decided to buy the practice, right, to take over it till today, what's been some of your biggest struggles or fails or pitfalls?
Biggest struggles I think has been learning to deal with insurance, deal with claims, deal with staff interactions, conflict resolution. Yes, those are my two big areas of stress, or not stress, but just like where a lot of my emotions have been, dealing with staff, finding the right staff, retaining those staff, training them, and then just insurance. Nobody likes it. I mean, everybody knows kind of all the reasons why it's been, or why it would be frustrating. But yeah, that's just been probably my other big
major thing. How's all of this affected like your personal life?
I mean, it's hard to give, like, it's hard to separate taking over an office with dealing with a pandemic, because I mean, they happened like so like right at the same time. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I've been really stressed and broke for a couple of years, but it's also just like, well, how much of that stress would I have been experiencing even if I hadn't just purchased an office? Like, I don't know. I think they've just kind of compounded each other. But I definitely know that I wanted to own an office so that I could have, like, I could make my own schedule and like have a better work-life balance. And that has been like further from the truth. It's just like, I'm never not working. Like, it's like I'm at work, I'm seeing patients, and then I come home and I spend some, I do family time, but then my kids go to sleep and I'm just like, I've got all these other things that I need to do related to my office that are not necessarily like clinically relevant, but just business relevant. So haven't quite got that work-life balance thing figured out, but that's the hope.
Sometimes have you thought about it where you're like, oh man, I remember when I used to get a paycheck and I just go home and then that was it? And
yes, every day.
Every day.
Actually, more like every Friday. Just like, man. Or like, and just at the end of the year, I just get like a W-2 in the mail, and it's like, that's what I made, and like I don't have to figure out like all the other junk between like, oh, money that I've put into the office, or like money I've had to take out, or all that other stuff. Yeah,
it happens. I mean, it's going through seasons, right? Like right now, you're gonna have to hit it hard, and then eventually, you know what I mean? I mean, you're doing fantastic, Clara. You're doing fantastic.
We'll see. But no, I mean, like, it'll be worth it. I'm still glad that I've done it and that I'm doing it. And yeah, like the work-life balance, I haven't figured that out. But at the same time, it's like, if I want to close my office because I want to go do something at my kid's school, I can. And I've done that. So, or like, I'll block things off and just be like, nope, not today. Like I've got other, something else I want to do, but there's plenty of things that y'all can do admin wise at the office, but I'm out. So,
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, I mean, it's got its benefits. I think I just need to remember to take advantage of that more and just be like,
Yeah.
okay, like, look, I have earned this. Like I have put in all the hard work. And if I need to like take advantage of the fact that I'm an owner and I can make my own schedule when I want to, then I need to do that more and not be like such a slave to, what I feel like I have to be doing to like keep up with it. So
Yeah, no, I
yeah.
get you. Awesome, Clara. Thank you so much for being with us. It was a pleasure. But before we say goodbye, can you tell our listeners where they can find you if they have any questions or anything like that?
Oh yeah. Well, you can find me, you can email me. My email is clara.griffey.dds@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook, Clara Griffey, Clara Dutton Griffey, I guess would be my full name on there. And my office is called Keep Smiling Waco. So you can always look up what we've got going on over there. We just got, like I said, we got our little therapy puppy, so you can follow along as she's growing into her job. So yeah.
What kind of puppy is it?
She's a standard poodle. So yeah.
So it's like right now, so like,
Oh, she's so precious. Yeah, she's just so fluffy and she doesn't shed. So that was kind of another like for patients that are worried about that. So
yeah, like allergies or anything. Awesome, Clara. Thank you so much for being with us. Guys, if you want, go in the show notes below and reach out to Clara. And Clara, thank you for being with us. It was a pleasure, and we'll hear from you soon.
yeah, thanks for having me.